The scratched viewing port looked out onto the chaos of Meridian 7's lower docks, where species from 100 worlds haggled over cargo and contracts. Cal wiped condensation from his glass and watched three Kretic enforcers corner a skinny Vraxian near the fuel depot. The kid couldn't have been more than 20 standard years old, and his chitinous plates were still showing youth patterns in pale green. "Your payment is 73 cycles overdue," the lead enforcer announced, his voice carrying across the dock. "Consortium policy requires immediate vessel seizure." The Vraxian's forearms trembled as he clutched a data pad. "I have 200 credits now. The rest comes when my next shipment clears customs. Please, just 3 more days." "Negative." The enforcer's mechanical hand reached for the kid's identification chip. "Your vessel, inventory, and trading license are now property of the Credit Consortium. Total debt plus penalties, 3,047 credits." Cal finished his drink and stood up. He didn't think about it much, just walked over and held out his credit chip. "Here's 4,000, we're settled." All 4 aliens turned to stare at him. The lead enforcer scanned the chip twice, probably checking for fraud. "Transaction complete, debt cleared." He and his partners left without another word, already moving toward their next target. The Vraxian stared at Cal with all 3 eyes wide. "I don't understand. You paid my debt." "Yeah," Cal pocketed his chip. "But why? We have never met. My family has no connection to yours. There is no logical reason for your action." Cal shrugged. "Someone helped me once when I needed it. Just pass it forward when you can." He started walking back toward his ship. "Wait," the Vraxian hurried after him, mandibles clicking in agitation. "You must tell me your name, your vessel registration, your home world. I must record this debt properly." "Name's Cal, that's all you need." He kept walking. "This is irregular. My people maintain precise debt records, interest rates, payment schedules, collateral agreements. How will I know the proper terms of repayment?" "No repayment needed." Cal stopped at his ship's loading ramp. "You don't owe me anything. Good luck with your business, kid." The Vraxian stood there looking like Cal had just violated some fundamental law of physics. His name was Torvin. Cal learned later, though at that moment he didn't care enough to ask. The whole interaction took maybe 5 minutes, and Cal forgot about it before his ship cleared the station. 15 years passed like water through a sieve. Cal worked his way up from solo hauler to captain of a decent-sized freight vessel called the Wandering Star. His crew was small but reliable, mostly humans with a couple of exceptions. They ran legitimate cargo on established routes, nothing exciting but steady work. The meteor storm came out of nowhere, which was the problem with the outer reaches. Scanners showed clear space 1 minute, then reality decided to throw rocks at them. Cal's pilot Lucia managed to dodge the worst of it, but something the size of a ground car punched through their starboard engine housing. "Hull breach sealed," Lucia reported, her hands still shaking on the controls. "But that engine's gone. We're down to 60% thrust." Cal checked their position. Nearest station is 4 days away at this speed. Nearest shipping lane is 2 days. Send out a standard distress call. Their engineer, a quiet guy named Rolf, spent 6 hours trying to patch the engine before admitting defeat. "We need a full replacement housing. Can't fix this with what we've got." The distress signal broadcast on all frequencies, automated and impersonal. Cal didn't expect much. This sector saw maybe 1 ship per week, and most captains wouldn't risk their schedules for a stranded freighter. The smart play was to wait for a dedicated rescue service, which would cost a fortune but guaranteed pickup. 2 days of floating in the dark. The crew played cards, maintained equipment, and tried not to think about their dwindling food supplies. Cal was reviewing insurance policies when Lucia called him to the bridge. "We've got a ship on approach, big one, modified trader class," she brought up the scan. "They're hailing us." Cal activated the comm. "This is Captain Cal of the Wandering Star. Appreciate the response to our distress call." The voice that answered was unmistakably Vraxian, all clicking consonants and precise diction. "Captain Cal, I have been waiting many years to repay a debt. My name is Torvin. Perhaps you remember me." Cal genuinely didn't, not at first. He'd helped a lot of people over the years, usually in small ways. "Torvin, sorry, refresh my memory. Meridian 7, 15 years ago, you paid my debt to the credit consortium, 3,000 credits. I was young and foolish and about to lose everything. You saved my business." The memory clicked into place, hazy but there. "Oh yeah, the fuel depot. Listen, I told you then, no repayment needed. We're fine waiting for rescue services." "Negative." Torvin's ship was already maneuvering alongside. "I have materials for engine repair and enough supplies to sustain your crew. My debt remains unpaid. This is unacceptable to my people." Cal rubbed his face. He'd forgotten how stubborn Vraxians could be about this stuff. "Fine, we'll pay standard rates for the parts and labor." "You will not," Torvin sounded almost offended. "I have calculated the value of your original assistance. Accounting for interest, opportunity costs, and cultural significance, you are owed approximately 47,000 credits worth of service. Today I begin repayment." Lucia muted the comm. "Did he say 47,000 for 3,000 you gave him?" "Their math is different," Cal unmuted. "Torvin, seriously, this is unnecessary. I helped because I could, not because I wanted something back." "That is precisely why the debt is so profound," Torvin replied. "Your ship will be repaired within 12 hours. We will discuss this further over dinner. I have many things to tell you about what you started 15 years ago, things I think you need to know." Cal looked at Lucia, who just shrugged. Sometimes the universe didn't give you much choice. "All right, Torvin, we'll accept the help, and I'll hear you out." "Excellent, preparing to dock now. And Captain, thank you for not remembering me. It proves something important." Cal had no idea what that meant, but he was about to find out. Torvin's repair crew worked with efficiency that bordered on artistic. They swarmed over the wandering stars' damaged engine housing like synchronized dancers, each movement precise and purposeful. Cal watched from the observation deck as Vraxian engineers installed parts that looked too expensive for a simple rescue mission. "Those are military-grade components," Rolf muttered beside him. "That housing alone costs maybe 15,000 credits new." "I noticed," Cal said. Torvin found them there, his chitinous plates now dark blue with maturity markings. He'd grown from that scared kid into something confident and successful. "Your engineer is correct. I use only the best materials. Inferior parts would insult the debt." Cal turned to face him. "About that, you really need to let this go. I didn't help you expecting a 47,000 credit return on investment. I understand that human cognitive patterns do not naturally track long-term reciprocal obligations." Torvin's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "This is precisely what makes the debt so significant." They moved to Torvin's ship for dinner, which turned out to be an elaborate affair. Torvin had researched human food preferences and prepared dishes that Cal hadn't seen since leaving Earth. The gesture was touching and slightly disturbing in its thoroughness. "You've been tracking me," Cal said, halfway through something that tasted like his grandmother's stew. "Yes," Torvin didn't even pretend otherwise. "Public shipping manifests, port registrations, general commercial records, nothing illegal or invasive. I simply wanted to know where you were in case opportunity arose to begin repayment." Lucia, who joined them, frowned. "That's a lot of effort for one good deed." "You misunderstand." Torvin pulled up a holographic display. "Cal's action was not isolated. I began researching human behavior patterns after our encounter. What I discovered was remarkable." The display showed hundreds of entries, each one a documented case of humans helping non-humans. A doctor who'd treated a Keltheran colony for free during a plague outbreak. An engineer who'd repaired a failing water system on a mining station and refused payment. A teacher who'd spent her own money tutoring alien students who couldn't afford proper education. "These are just the ones I found in my first year of searching." Torvin expanded the display. "The pattern continued. Everywhere humans went, they left these small acts of irrational kindness. Most never followed up, most never expected repayment. Most seemed to forget they'd done anything noteworthy at all. Cal stared at the data. People help each other, that's not uniquely human. It is not the helping that is unique. Torvin's three eyes focused on him intensely. It is the lack of expectation. Every other species I have studied operates on reciprocal exchange models. We help because we expect equivalent return even if that return is delayed. We maintain careful records. We calculate interest and value. We never, ever simply walk away. So humans are bad at math, Lucia said. Great. No, Torvin clicked his mandibles. Humans are operating on a completely different system, one that does not compute value in traditional terms. I have spent 15 years trying to understand it. I have failed, but I have learned something else. He pulled up another display, this one showing a network diagram, nodes connected to other nodes in an expanding web. Every being in this network was helped by a human. I have interviewed hundreds of them. The pattern is consistent. Humans help and move on, but those who were helped do not forget, cannot forget, because for us such behavior is unprecedented. Cal felt something cold in his stomach. What are you saying? I am saying that you humans have created something without realizing it. Torvin zoomed in on specific nodes. These are individuals who, like me, have been tracking the humans who helped them. This Keltharan merchant has been following the doctor who saved his daughter. This Drellian pilot has been monitoring the engineer who fixed his ship. We all thought we were alone in this. We were wrong. You've been coordinating, Cal said quietly. Not until recently, Torvin admitted. 6 months ago, I started reaching out to others in the network. We shared our stories, our records, our observations. We realized the scope was far larger than any of us imagined. Thousands of small kindnesses scattered across hundreds of worlds, each one remembered and valued by its recipient. Lucia leaned forward. Why are you telling us this? Because the Credit Consortium is systematically targeting human businesses across this sector. Torvin's tone went flat. They are using legal technicalities to seize assets, destroy contracts, and drive humans out of established trade routes. They see your species as financially weak and emotionally exploitable. Cal had heard rumors, dismissed them as normal business competition. What does that have to do with your network? Everything, Torvin closed the displays. The consortium is backed by the hierarchs, a coalition of species that view human behavior as economically destabilizing. They believe your irrational generosity disrupts natural market forces. They want to cripple humanity before your influence spreads further. That's insane, Cal said. Is it? Torvin countered. You changed my life with 3,000 credits and no expectation of return. That simple act has haunted me for 15 years. It made me question everything I thought I understood about value and obligation. Now multiply that by thousands. What happens when that many beings start questioning the fundamental assumptions of galactic commerce? Cal pushed his plate away. So what? You're going to fight the consortium because you feel guilty. Not guilty, Torvin corrected. Indebted. There is a difference, and not just me. The network has been waiting for an opportunity to demonstrate the value of what you humans taught us. The consortium has provided that opportunity. I don't want a war fought in my name. Then you should have thought of that before you showed kindness to a desperate stranger. Torvin stood. You planted these seeds, Captain Cal. You do not get to choose what grows from them. An alarm chimed. Torvin's communication officer appeared on a small screen. Sir, we have reports from the home station. Credit enforcers are demanding access to our financial records. They claim irregularities in our filing. Torvin's plates darkened. Begin Protocol 7. Inform the network that the time has come. He turned back to Cal. Your repairs are complete. You are free to go, but I suspect our paths will cross again very soon. Cal and Lucia returned to the Wandering Star in silence. As they undocked, Cal watched Torvin's ship turn toward the inner systems. What just happened? Lucia asked. Cal had no answer. 6 months of watching everything fall apart. That's what Cal got for his trouble. The Credit Consortium moved like a plague through human trade networks, finding violations that didn't exist and creating debt where there was none. Cal's company received notice of a contract breach he couldn't have possibly committed. The penalty was seizure of his ship and dissolution of his business license. They're claiming we delivered substandard materials to Outpost Ganymede, Rolf explained, reading through the legal documentation. Problem is, we've never even been to Ganymede. We don't have the range. Doesn't matter. Lucia had been researching similar cases. 17 other human operators got hit with impossible violations last month. The adjudication system is rigged. By the time you prove the charges are false, they've already sold your assets to cover the fines. Cal sat in his cabin, staring at the notice. 15 years of building a legitimate business, gone because some coalition of aliens decided humans were too generous for their own. Good, the irony tasted like metal. The first strange thing happened on a Tuesday. A Keltheran legal firm reached out offering free representation. Their lead attorney was someone named Drex, who insisted that Cal's case was exactly the kind of injustice his firm opposed. Cal accepted because he had no other options. The second strange thing was the missing evidence. The consortium's documentation against Cal somehow disappeared from 3 separate archives. The backups also vanished. When Cal asked Drex about it, the attorney just said coincidences happen. The third strange thing was the clerk. A young Drellian working in the consortium's filing department sent Cal encrypted files proving document tampering in his case. The files showed when the false charges were created and who authorized them. The clerk's message simply said debts matter and nothing else. Lucia figured it out first. She'd been tracking every weird break they caught, every impossible stroke of luck. It's Torvin's network. It has to be. This is too coordinated to be random. Cal wanted to deny it, but the evidence kept mounting. Ships that should have delivered consortium supplies got delayed by port inspections. Legitimate but inconveniently timed. Financial auditors started asking uncomfortable questions about consortium accounting practices. Legal challenges appeared in multiple jurisdictions simultaneously. Each individual action was small, legal, and appeared unconnected, but the cumulative effect was devastating. Torvin finally contacted him on a secured channel. I thought you should know. The network is fully mobilized. We have members in 70 systems now, each one contributing in whatever way they can. I told you I didn't want this, Cal said. And I told you that you do not get to choose. Torvin's image was calm. You helped me when you had no reason to. You helped hundreds of others the same way. Did you think those actions would simply vanish into nothing? Did you believe kindness has no consequences? This isn't kindness, Cal shot back. This is economic warfare. No, Torvin corrected. This is repayment. There is a difference. The consortium chose to attack humanity. We are simply ensuring that choice has appropriate costs. Cal ended the call and put his head in his hands. Lucia sat down next to him. For what it's worth, I think he's right. You can't just help people and expect them to forget. That's not how the universe works. It should be, Cal muttered. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. The hierarchs demanded an investigation into what they called coordinated economic manipulation by human interests. A human representative named Patricia faced the council chamber, genuinely confused because Earth's government knew nothing about any network. Patricia did her homework. She dug through records and found the same pattern Torvin had discovered. Humans helping others without expectation, others remembering and recording those acts. A vast web of goodwill that nobody human had been tracking. She presented her findings to the council with a simple message. Humanity didn't coordinate this, they just inspired it. The hierarchs made their fatal mistake by going public. They released evidence of human generosity to prove manipulation. They showed medical records of humans treating aliens for free, shipping logs of humans providing emergency supplies without charging, educational records of humans teaching without compensation. They expected outrage. They got something else entirely. Species after species came forward with their own stories. a Keltheran ambassador described how human volunteers saved her colony from plague. They worked 20-hour days for 3 months. They refused all payment. Half of them died from exposure. The colony survived because of them. A Drellian merchant explained how a human competitor gave him business advice instead of exploiting his ignorance. That advice turned his failing company into a successful enterprise. The testimonies flooded the council chamber. The thing about kindness is that people remember it. They remember when someone helped them in their darkest moment. They remember when someone showed them mercy they didn't deserve. They remember when someone gave without expecting anything back. The hierarchs had counted on galactic society operating on pure transaction. They'd forgotten that gratitude is a powerful force. The Credit Consortium found itself under investigation by the Council. Their predatory practices suddenly looked criminal instead of shrewd. Their cases against human businesses collapsed under scrutiny. They withdrew from human territories within a week, cutting their losses before the damage spread further. Cal received notification that all charges were dropped. His business license was restored. His reputation was cleared. He should have felt relieved. Instead, he felt overwhelmed. Torvin visited his ship one last time. "You look troubled. You should be celebrating." "How many?" Cal asked. "How many people are in this network of yours?" Torvin pulled up his data pad. The last count was 50,307, and it grows by approximately 30 entries per day. Every human who helps someone without asking for return creates another member. Your species is very busy. "What happens now?" Cal asked. "What happens when this many beings feel like they owe humanity something?" Torvin's mandibles clicked in what might have been a smile. "I suppose we will all find out together. You humans started something that cannot be stopped or controlled. You taught us that kindness does not require reason. Now we are teaching the galaxy that kindness has power, whether you wanted it or not." Cal watched Torvin leave. Outside his viewport, the station continued its normal operations. Ships docking, cargo loading, people living their lives. Everything looked the same, but something fundamental had changed. Humanity had shown the galaxy a different way to exist, and the galaxy was remembering. 1 year after the consortium withdrew, Cal found himself doing something he never expected, traveling as an unofficial ambassador for humanity. Torvin had invited him to visit various worlds where the network had established what they called remembrance chapters, places where beings gathered to share stories of human kindness and coordinate their responses to various crises. The first chapter Cal visited was on Kelthara Prime, a conference room filled with 30 different species, all taking notes and sharing data. The meeting coordinator was that same doctor who'd treated the plague. She died 5 years ago, but her son carried on her work. The chapter members had compiled medical advances she'd introduced, agricultural techniques she'd taught, and lives she'd saved. The list covered 3 walls. "We ensure her knowledge continues to spread," the son explained. "Every year we send medical students to human universities. We fund research into diseases she identified. We maintain clinics she established. This is how we repay what cannot truly be repaid." Cal attended 14 of these meetings across 8 worlds. Each one was different, but the pattern was the same. Humans had helped, moved on, and forgotten. The helped had remembered, organized, and built something larger than the original act. A Drellian mining colony maintained a scholarship fund started by a human engineer who'd fixed their water system. 300 students had graduated because of it. A Vraxian trade guild followed principles taught by a human merchant who'd shown them fair dealing could be more profitable than exploitation. They'd tripled their revenue in a decade. "You're creating a religion out of kindness," Cal told Torvin after the 8th meeting. "We are creating a standard," Torvin corrected. "Your species demonstrates that intelligent beings can operate on principles other than pure self-interest. We are attempting to prove that such principles can be systematically applied. It is harder than it looks." "Because it's not supposed to be systematic," Cal argued. "You help someone because they need help, not because you're following a protocol. Yet someone must teach the protocol before it becomes instinct." Torvin pulled up his eternal data pad. My species, for example, we are naturally inclined toward rigid hierarchical obligation. Teaching us to give without expectation requires conscious effort and regular practice. We must make it systematic before we can make it natural. Cal hated that this made sense. The crisis on Tesseran 4 came without warning. A tectonic shift caused massive flooding across the main continent. 3 cities went underwater in a matter of hours. 200,000 people needed immediate evacuation. The planetary government had resources for maybe 30,000. They sent distress calls to the Galactic Council and prayed. The Council convened to debate response protocols, funding allocations, resource distribution, jurisdiction questions, standard procedure that would take days to resolve. Meanwhile, people were drowning. Cal heard about it from a news feed on his ship. Lucia was already plotting a course before he could ask. We can be there in 16 hours. We've got room for maybe 300 people if we stack them tight. Do it. Cal activated his communication system. He started calling every human captain he knew. Most of them were already moving. Nobody asked about payment or logistics. They just said they'd be there and ended the call. Torvin contacted him 4 hours into the journey. I have mobilized the network. We are sending all available vessels to Tesseran 4. Current. Estimate is 420 ships. That's impossible, Cal said. You can't coordinate that many vessels in 4 hours. The network has been preparing for opportunities like this since its inception, Torvin explained. We maintain updated lists of available ships, their capacities, and their locations. When a crisis emerges, we simply activate the appropriate response protocol. You built a private disaster relief fleet. We built a repayment mechanism, Torvin corrected. The fact that it resembles disaster relief is incidental. Cal watched as ships began arriving at Tesseran 4. Human cargo haulers, passenger liners, personal yachts, anything that could carry people. They came from dozens of systems, burning fuel they couldn't afford, risking ships they needed for their livelihoods. Then the network ships arrived. Vraxian traders with medical supplies, Keltheran engineering vessels with rescue equipment, Drellian transports with food and water. The coordination was terrifying in its efficiency. A Galactic Council observer named Kuren interviewed Cal while his crew loaded refugees. Did your government order this response? No, Cal was too tired to be diplomatic. We just heard people were in trouble. How did you coordinate with the other human vessels? We didn't, we all just came. Kuren's translator struggled with that concept. You are claiming that thousands of individuals independently chose the same action without central planning. Yeah, Cal watched a human pilot carry a Tesseran child to safety. That's pretty much it. This is impossible, Kuren insisted. No species operates this way. There must be hidden communication, secret directives, some form of coordination. Lucia overheard and laughed. You want to know the secret? We saw people drowning and decided that was unacceptable. That's it. That's the whole conspiracy. Kuren spent 3 days investigating. He interviewed human crews, checked communication logs, reviewed government records. He found nothing because there was nothing to find. No orders, no conspiracy, no coordination beyond people telling other people about the crisis. Humans had simply heard about a problem and responded, individually, chaotically, and completely voluntarily. The report Kuren filed with the Council caused immediate controversy. He argued that humanity operated on a fundamentally different social model than any previously. Documented species, they didn't need authority to organize, they didn't need incentive to act, they didn't need promises of repayment to help. They just did it because they believed it was right, and somehow, impossibly, this worked. The council debate lasted for weeks. Philosophers argued about evolutionary psychology. Economists debated game theory. Anthropologists studied human history looking for patterns. They found evidence everywhere. Humans helping humans, humans helping aliens, humans helping anyone who needed it. Individual acts, small and large, scattered across centuries. No grand plan, just billions of people choosing kindness when they could. Torvin found Cal on Tesseran 4 after the evacuation was complete. You saved 43,000 lives in 3 days. The network saved another 71,000. Together, we evacuated every living being from the flood zone. The Council helped too, Cal pointed out, eventually. Eventually, Torvin agreed. But you were here first. You are always here first. That is what I have learned. Humanity does not wait for permission to do the right thing. You simply do it and let others catch up. Cal looked at the empty cities below. What now? What happens when word spreads that humans and their network can mobilize faster than governments? Then perhaps governments will learn to move faster. Torvin's mandibles clicked. Or perhaps they will learn that some things are more important than procedure. Either way, the galaxy is changing, because you changed it, one act of kindness at a time. 5 years after Tesseran 4, and the galaxy looked different. Not in obvious ways, but in small shifts that added up to something significant. Cal noticed it in how species interacted at trading stations. Less rigid negotiation, more willingness to extend credit or accept delayed payment. He noticed it in how governments responded to crises. Faster deployment, fewer bureaucratic delays, more cooperation between species that historically competed. The academic community had gone wild studying what they called the human effect. Universities established entire departments dedicated to analyzing altruistic behavior patterns. Economists revised models to account for non-transactional value exchanges. Sociologists debated whether humanity represented an evolutionary adaptation or a cultural anomaly. Cal found the whole thing exhausting. He'd gone back to running. Cargo trying to avoid the spotlight. Torvin's network had become semi-official, recognized by the Council as a legitimate disaster response organization. They coordinated with governments now instead of working around them. Cal was happy to let others manage that. The bar on Meridian 7 hadn't changed much. Still scratched viewports, still watered-down drinks, still the same smell of recycled air and oil. Cal sat in the exact seat where he'd watched Torvin get threatened by Kretic enforcers 21 years ago. Sometimes he came here to think. Mind if I sit? A young human woman gestured at the empty chair. Go ahead, Cal said. She ordered something bright blue and sat down. You're Captain Cal Wright from the Wandering Star. Guilty. I heard you started the whole network thing, the remembrance chapters and everything. Cal laughed. I paid off a kid's debt 21 years ago. I didn't start anything. I just helped someone. That's what started it, though. She sipped her drink. I read about it in school. One act of kindness became a movement because the person you helped decided to remember instead of forget. Yeah, well, Cal signaled for another drink. Vraxians are stubborn that way. I helped someone today, the woman said casually. There was this Drellian family. Their transport broke down near the dock. They had 3 kids and no money for repairs. I covered it. That's nice of you. They wanted to know how to repay me. I told them the same thing you told Torvin, just pass it forward, she smiled. They looked at me like I'd violated physics. Cal understood that look. They'll remember. In 20 years, they'll probably track you down and try to repay a favor you've forgotten. Good, she finished her drink and stood up. I hope they do. I hope they remember that someone helped them when they needed it. I hope they help someone else because of it. That's how this works, right? Cal watched her leave. Young, idealistic, probably going to get her heart broken by the universe. But she'd help people anyway. Humans were like that. Torvin arrived an hour later. He was older now, plates almost black with age, moving slower but still sharp. I knew I would find you here. You always come to this bar when you are thinking. Remembering, Cal corrected, there's a difference. Is there? Torvin sat down. I brought something to show you. He pulled out his ancient data pad. The same one he'd been using for 2 decades. The ledger, complete and updated. The numbers were staggering. 400,000 entries. Individuals who'd been helped by humans and chose to remember. Individuals who'd joined the network not because they owed a specific debt, but because they believed in the principle. The growth was exponential. Every human act of kindness created multiple responses, which inspired more acts, which created more responses. We stopped tracking it as debts 5 years ago, Torvin explained. Now we simply call them connections, bonds between beings who chose to help each other without calculation or expectation. So you finally gave up on repaying me, Cal said. No, Torvin's mandibles clicked. I closed your entry in the ledger, but I opened a new one. This one is owed to humanity as a whole. He showed Cal the entry. It simply read, Debt owed to humanity for teaching us that strength is not in what we take or what we are owed, but in what we give freely. Repayment. Impossible. Attempt. Eternal. That's dramatic, Cal muttered. It is accurate. Torvin closed the pad. You humans showed us a better way to exist. You did not do it through force or superior technology. You did it through consistent, inexplicable kindness. Even now, after decades of study, we cannot fully explain why you behave this way. We simply know that it works. It doesn't always work, Cal pointed out. People still fight, steal, hurt each other. Humanity isn't perfect. No, Torvin agreed. But you try. That is what matters. You see someone in need and your first instinct is to help. You may calculate costs later, you may regret the decision, you may never see that person again. But in that moment you choose kindness, and that choice echoes. Cal looked out the viewport at the station. Thousands of beings moving through their lives, buying and selling and traveling and working. Somewhere out there, someone was helping someone else. Human or alien, it didn't matter. The network had grown beyond its origins. It wasn't about repaying humanity anymore. It was about continuing a pattern that humanity had introduced. What happens now? Cal asked. Where does this go? Wherever it needs to, Torvin stood. The galaxy is learning, slowly, painfully, but learning. We are learning that kindness is not weakness, that generosity is not foolishness, that helping others does not diminish us. You humans knew this already. Now you are teaching the rest of us. Cal finished his drink. I just paid off a kid's debt. I didn't mean to change the galaxy. No one ever does. Torvin headed for the door. But you did it anyway. That is the most human thing of all. Cal sat alone for a while after Torvin left. He thought about that scared Vraxian kid from 21 years ago. He thought about the woman who'd helped the Drellian family today. He thought about billions of small kindnesses happening across hundreds of worlds, invisible threads connecting people who would never meet. The galaxy was changing, not through war or trade or politics, but through something simpler and more powerful. People remembering that someone helped them once. People choosing to help someone else because of it. People learning that kindness multiplied instead of diminished. Cal paid his tab and walked back to his ship. Tomorrow he'd haul cargo to some distant station. Next week he'd probably help someone without thinking about it. In 20 years, someone would track him down trying to repay a favor he'd forgotten, and the cycle would continue. Humanity's greatest export wasn't technology or culture or military might. It was the simple, revolutionary idea that you could help someone without expecting anything back. And somehow, impossibly, that was enough to change everything.